Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
How do you feel about Trump saying they can't fund Medicare, Medicaid, and daycare programs anymore because they need the money to fund the war? I feel like this was the most avoidable war of all time. Bibi gets a war criminal partner and Trump gets to not talk about being a pedophile in the Epstein files. Don't forget stealing and laundering hundreds of billions of dollars in the process. For the Epsteinth time, why are we at war? Because Trump is the no new wars president who was awarded all this cool peace prize stuff. They probably also want to distract from the whole Charlie Kirk thing being an inside job to try and create Horst Wessel 2.0 since the trial is going on now. Vance must have really been infatuated with Erica. She's like Helen of Troy, men would kill for her, I guess. Imagine being the second most powerful man in the world, and using that power to date whatever Erica Kirk is. I don't understand why Trump doesn't fund the war using all that tariff income being paid by foreign countries. Perhaps a reporter should ask about that. Trillions, wasn't it? Surely they can spare a few bill for the unfortunate. Billions and billions, maybe even trillions. Lots of people are saying that. They don't want to fund those things. They want to make themselves and the donors richer. The GOP will never care about you or me. Wild how we can't afford healthcare always shows up right after we can definitely afford endless war. Priorities looking upside down, and we can afford tax cuts for businesses and billionaires, but the weakest, youngest, oldest and most vulnerable can fuck right off. They got money for war but won't feed the poor, Tupac Shakur. It's always been like this, Trump just basks in the blatant evils of it all. My grandma just found out her insulin assistance got cut and called me crying. I'm 30 years old explaining to a 78-year-old woman why she has to choose between medication and groceries. Cool. I'd see if you can help her use Cost Plus Drugs. https://www.costplusdrugs.com/medications/insulin-pen-needle-30-1G-x-miscellaneous-30/. Amazon has a surprisingly good pharmacy too. My numbing cream for dialysis isn't covered by insurance. I was paying $16.50 per tube at my pharmacy. Amazon has 3 tubes for $25 including shipping. Cost Plus Drugs is the same price, but their availability was worse. Man, I wish there was a way I could help her. I don't live in the US and it's not possible for me to send her any, otherwise I would, as insulin is free in my country. I really hope she manages to get her insulin. It is exactly as predicted. He promised lower healthcare costs, reduction of inflation and increasing jobs, and has failed on all of these fronts. The only people left who would work with him are either incompetent has-beens or have some closet secret he can expose. Christy, I'm looking at you. And then there's the Epstein files. So, none of this a surprise. So, to the rest of the world, when you've seen all these protests in the media, we know the GOP is not listening to us. We're talking to you. We are showing you that a vast number of people in this country do not support these policies and we do not approve of this war. Don't really care, TBH. Trumpism won't be forgiven or forgotten, nor should it be, but surely you can realize that not all Americans are to be viewed as supporters. Wouldn't that be prejudiced? Sadly, I think it will be forgiven and forgotten, effectively, just like the Civil War was. The First Amendment is so poorly conceived it can't allow for a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Good Americans will always fight for their countrymen's right to be Nazis, while bad Americans will gladly trash the Constitution while the good ones stick to their principles. Sorry, but speaking as a fellow American who voted against this asshole every single time and is dying from the frustration. This is all on us. We will not live this down in our lifetimes. Bottom line is we as a nation knew who and what he is and elected him anyway. We sadly deserve every ounce of the pain and humiliation coming our way. I can only hope we eventually learn something from it and finally grow the fuck up as a nation. Though I seriously doubt it. I think we will continue to double down as we continue to decline. The crying shame is the morons who voted that way will never, ever, admit to the mistake. Think for yourself. I am disabled, gay, and broke. I voted for the Democrat in the past 3 POTUS elections. I choke daily on my hatred for Christian Dominionists, and I refuse to catch your self-flagellating strays. Fuck that, dude, I didn't do anything to deserve this shit. I've never voted for a Republican in my life and I've been extremely outspoken against Trump and MAGA from day one. How is this in any way our fault? Not my fault that a bunch of dumbass chucklefucks from the boonies voted for him. I love it. Through those old people, including veterans, those in need and those whiny children that can't take care of themselves. Such a drain on the economy and our country. I am so glad we are taking our country back for those who really matter and really need our support, the billionaires and their friends. Those are the people I care about because they pulled them up by their bootstraps. Just hard work, a dream and 100M trust fund from their father, and here they are. These people remind me of Mr. Krabs lol. Donate to the Children's Fund. What have children ever done for me? George Carlin has a quote about the average American. Last time I posted it, I got a 3-day site-wide ban for promoting hate. I'll risk it. Think about how stupid the average person is. And realize that half of them are stupider than that. George Carlin. And those people coalesced into MAGA. Wild that a quote from one of the most famous American comedians of all time that essentially just gives the definition of the word, average, is considered hateful. It's actually the meaning of the median word. Continuing to support Trump proves who is not only a hypocrite but also a pretend patriot. MAGA truly hates America. They only love the idea of the America they want to have. Not the America that has always been. I feel like when you measure the entire world's average IQ, Americans would be the significant portion of the bottom end. The fact that most of us are so susceptible to even the most mild propaganda. There's a reason why the authoritarians started by rewriting our history books and defunding our education. I believe that's genetically ingrained in humans from the beginning of civilization. Myths and ideas have been a method of controlling the masses since the pharaohs of Egypt and the priest kings of Mesopotamia. The myths have changed with the times, but things like the American dream and American freedom are an extension of myths and ideas controlling the masses. Europeans are in no way immune to it. There was Brexit recently where public opinion was manipulated, but maybe as a whole Europe is possibly less susceptible to it due to the proximity to so many nations with different cultures and competing ideologies. Because since 2000 there was a big push of smart people are snobby jerks here in the USA. Anti-science, anti-literacy, shit like that. Thanks, white Christian nationalists. Makes us easier to convert so they can have more money and power. Yep, anti-intellectualism is the order of the day. People are proud to be dumb and mean. Also MAGA celebrates being regressive. Next they'll make people hate progress the way they've vilified being woke to systemic injustice. Been a lot longer than that. In 1980 Isaac Asimov said his famous cult of ignorance quote. In 2000, the World Wide Web was just kicking into high gear. It's more that we just randomly set up our presidential election strategy to give the dumbest people more voting power. Which, yeah, I guess you are right. I think he's a big loser who should be ejected from the planet. Should have strapped him to the Artemis too. He'd blend in with the orange booster. Medicaid and Medicare are funded from every working person and employer in this country through payroll taxes. Just as Social Security is. The government does not fund these programs. No, but they do take millions of dollars from each of them every month. I say it has nothing to do with war. Trump just thinks we should all die for him. May 2025, 10,000 veterans foreclosed because of programs removed without replacement. 1 million claims denied 2025. August 2025, trans veterans denied benefits. February 2026, 30,000 VA workers fired. March 2026, guardianship over veterans. What a weird way to thank us for our service. Don't start wars you can't afford and can't win. That can be shortened to, don't start wars. There's an old image that always writes true. In a restaurant, there's a bunch of tables with one, thin, almost skeletal person seated. On the tables are written things like education, healthcare, culture. And there's one table with a completely overweight person and all the waiters focused on it. The table of war. https://www.reddit.com/r/propaganda-posters/comments/cow041/this_restaurant_war_war1953/. He is the worst president in US history. I lived through the 1980s. These last 2 years have been a repeat of those years. This statement about wars, Medicaid, Medicare and daycare sounds like the politicians back then. Reagan was awful. Like Thatcher in Britain, Reagan never said the word AIDS. Couldn't bring himself to acknowledge men dropping dead left and right. Couldn't fund social safety net programs then either. He fell asleep in meetings too. He was diagnosed with dementia and died from it. Nothing. Am I supposed to be surprised by his decisions and verbal diarrhea at this point? My fellow US citizens are getting exactly what they voted for and it all sucks, so congrats to them. Face with rolling eyes. Doesn't matter. Everyone in power wants this chaos and is supporting him over us. F every single one of these politicians across the board. This entire administration should be in jail. Also, Trump raped kids. Yep, Trump raped kids for decades with his best friend Epstein and MAGAs support it. Fuck that. They're blatantly telling you they don't care if you're hungry, sick or dying. War profiteering must go on. There's always money for war, but never any money to help people. Disappointed that, America first, people will defend this decision cause. Bombs are fucking awesome. It angers me. I am at a loss as to why American voters are under the impression that they don't deserve healthcare, housing, etc. Why don't we want better? Why is it such a sin to require our elected officials to do their jobs? And most importantly, why is it so important to sacrifice so much just to own the libs? I didn't know cutting off your nose to spite your face was so widespread. End rant. I asked this question over in our Ask Trump supporters a while back. The answer I got was because it would mean a weaker military. Americans are the stupidest, most fearful people on the planet, willing to fuck themselves over because they think the world is coming to get them. American voters are very consistent on this point, actually. They want health care, they want housing, they want high-paying jobs. However, they also want to make sure that other people, anyone they happen to perceive as undeserving, don't get those things. Unfortunately, as we've observed, the second desire is the one that wins out.